Hi, folks. My name is John Helios with Star Nations News .com, and today is May 20th, 2021. And today I've got a really special guest. His name is Harry Kroner. I've known Harry for a couple months here now, and we've discussed back and forth and established a good rapport. And he's a really interesting guy. He's got some really helpful and useful information to share, based upon his own self-description. Harry Kroner is a catalyst of spiritual awakening and deep personal healing, bringing a unique blend of techniques together that work on all levels of your being. Emerging as his leading expert in spiritual hypnotherapy, I can vouch for that, soul healing, and deep emotional healing. Harry also helps people experience the higher dimensions of themselves, reaching wisdom, healing, purpose, and deeper lessons about life and other lives. So Harry also helped prepare people to connect with their higher selves, which is a big step, and embodying these higher aspects consciously. So anyway, Harry, aside from what I've, uh, recited here formally, do you have anything else you want to add as far as an introduction for yourself?
No, thank you for doing that. And but yeah, I do have now something that is I just started just a few months ago, and that is the Infinite Ascension Academy. And we'll probably put that information in the with the thing, with the video. Yeah. And I do have there a lot of things that are addressing ascension and both self mastery of the human self, and again the expanded you can say universal self. So anywhere from connecting with your galactic families and to connecting with your higher self and inner work. And so I have all kinds of stuff in that academy, all kind of little workshops that are fun to watch and fun to look at. So I started that, and that's a really fun venture to go through. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about the challenges people who are awakening experience. And now it's a big topic, and I want to kind of maybe break it into several different ideas around it. But we do go through a lot of things as we start going through that process of awakening. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things of, first of all, expansion of self, understanding that suddenly you are so much more than just your human aspect. And it is just such a beautiful process of recognizing and becoming more of who you really are. And that's where a lot of people are focused on, and getting more knowledge, getting more understanding. And that's a beautiful thing. But that's only one step. We need to also make sure that we take it, which is something that I notice some people have a hard time with, and that is really adjusting. Yeah.
Yeah, I can vouch for that myself.
Yeah. So it's about that, about okay, how do I adjust? How do I move into this new reality, new world scheme of how I see myself in the world? Because it changes everything. When you change the world scheme of how you think the world is, and how it's just mind-boggling. And sometimes people really it's just hard. It's hard to move from part of, so you can say, being unconscious, of not being aware of that, and suddenly moving into that space. And how does life happen in between? How does the human self has to adjust, and how does that happen in relationships, and how it affects the way you interact with people, and the way you suddenly become very, very connected with that. And sometimes it is about, again, and a lot of people talk about all that part that happens after. And I know a lot of what your show is about is that part of knowing what civilizations are out there, what's happening, who's against who, and the different things, which is great knowledge. It's really fantastic. But a lot of things that is being usually neglected a little, I think, is, okay, so how do people take care of themselves? How do they really ground? How do they adjust now that they know more, feel more, expanded consciousness? How do they integrate it into their regular life? And how do they start moving their regular life into a place that represents that in a more clear way? Now, it does affect, for example, relationships a lot, and not necessarily just with loved ones or family, but a lot of times it does change, and people are like, oh, suddenly you really, really like certain aspects, and then you can say more conventional friends suddenly don't appreciate that much. And it's hard to gap those kind of again, differences suddenly that you have to bridge those gaps. You have
Yeah.
anything to say about that? Share some
Well,
experience.
yeah, everything you've said is very similar. It does touch upon, recent changes within my life, or changes that within at least the last couple of years or so.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about relationships, not only is it that it's not only limited to relationships with other people, but also the relationship that you have with yourself,
Yeah.
because you are, um, this during this change. And by the way, this change is kind of an evolution that's going
That's
on
right.
within all of humanity. Not only collectively are we
Mm-hmm.
seeing changes, like the obvious changes that we see in the news and the politics and stuff like that, and the way things are shaking out in society, but
Mm-hmm.
also within a person as an individual. uh,
Yeah.
and so it's also, but it also, because we are social people, we have relationships with other people. So as you just mentioned, as you just said, people will be changing the way they conduct their friendships or their relationships
That's
with
right.
other people. And that is a reflection of what's going on inside also, because um, with this change that's going on, we call it the personal evolution. We call it an ascension. Sometimes it's called a DNA activation,
Mm-hmm.
because people like to look at it from the chemical side or the physical side. All of this is true. These are all different words for essentially the same thing, and we're having this big change with the way that the relationship we have with others and with ourselves, and it is profound. Yes, you are right, and what you've said is very much reflects many things that have happened to me too, even in recent
Yeah.
months. And I've spoken with you about this. And by the way, I wish to say thank you so much too for the help that you
Yeah.
have offered. So
My
yeah.
pleasure. My pleasure.
So and what so as another topic, one thing I know that you had mentioned that it's associated with that is the concept of letting go. Can you tell us
Right.
some more about that?
So it is about, as we just talked about, relationships. A lot of times it involves in doing activations, and when you start raising your frequency and really focus on that, meditate, and really get yourself into a really better place, you do raise your own frequency and level of consciousness. You suddenly, a lot of things, relationships, and sometimes very deep relationships, like our partners and stuff, that needs to be, they need to change, and they can never go back to the way it was before. So that's one of the challenges when I see a lot of people that come to me as clients and in my practice, that they have encountered suddenly, like their partners that they had for 20 years suddenly no longer match. And it's a tough thing. It's not an easy thing, and you need some courage and some understanding, like, if this is my path, and do I need to continue with that or not? And it needs to be done obviously in a healthy way, but not only that, with friendships and different things. So it is about letting go of the past, of what worked for you even till now, whether it's jobs, whether it's relationships, whether it's your own belief systems, what your own ideas of what is. And wow, okay, I need to change that. I need to let go of that. And as you said, and I like what you said, that it's an evolution. It's an ever evolving process of continuously moving into a higher expression of yourself, and understanding and seeing it in a broader and broader perspective. So sometimes even in the beginning, you see yourself like, oh, I'm this and I'm that. And I'll give you an example. A lot of I did a lot of work with star seeds, and I do a lot of workshops with star seeds. I've ran workshops here for the past 4 years, in person. And a lot of times what I've seen is, first of all, people like recognize, oh, I'm a Pleiadian. Okay, great, you're Pleiadian. And then they really get stuck on that, like, oh, I'm a Pleiadian. So all I do, this is my characters, this is what I do. They really over-identify. So with only one type. And I can tell you that most people are anyway a blend. Like, I know when I ask, like, hey, so what am I? And people like, on many different dimensions, I have different different densities. I have different aspects of myself, and there's sometimes in different civilizations. And even that, there's sometimes a blend, because just like, and the way they explained to me, and was very nice in one of my channeling, is that same as we are ourselves here on Earth, not only from one continent or one country. We sometimes are multiracial and multinational as far as our background. It's the same way. It's a mixed background. So you can be a mix of Arcturian and Syrian, and just in your DNA, you can be that. And so it's not like, so over identifying with only one, you can say, civilization across the galaxy as this is the only thing I am, is also very limiting. And I noticed a lot of people do that in the beginning because they enjoy suddenly, oh wow, I'm so much more than just my human self. But it's also just a process, and that needs to be like, okay, maybe I'm not just that, and
Yeah.
there's more to me.
Yeah.
And I need to also acknowledge the human in me, because I'm first of all and mostly am a focused part of my consciousness is now on being human and understanding I'm more than that, but I am here to apply it towards my human life and how I help myself evolve as a human as well. So again, unlike in history that we spiritual evolution, and you can say like a look in the past, it was about like leaving the body behind and going into higher aspects of the self. Here in this time, we're evolving as also our bodies as well, as you say, with DNA activations and all different aspects of that, and moving into a more crystalline body. And so we need to learn how to do it with the body, with our human self. So we need to make sure that we don't neglect the human body, not neglect it, not and honor it, and not only the body, the mind, the heart, and then obviously the soul and consciousness aspect. So it's important to not to overfocus on what's out there and what I'm becoming, but also, okay, how am I bringing all of me into that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think a lot of people who uh, are considering, going into a spiritual endeavor or going deeper inside, many times they kind of have what, well, you can call it kind of a misperception that it's like, flying into outer space and, having a jolly good time. And yes, no doubt that sometimes that is the experience that some people do have, and it depends on where you're coming from, how far you've come in your personal evolution. Um, and but one thing that I'm noticing is that, that you had mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, was that some folks are having a tough time, in dealing with that. And from my own personal experience, I had thought, I had the misperception. I'll be honest. I had the misperception that I had done a super thorough job of cleaning out my inner garbage. And and this big huge change I had about 2 months ago proved to me that I hadn't cleared all of it out, and there was plenty of it. And it was it was difficult. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be difficult for everybody who gets a DNA activation or suddenly gets activated to do a personal ascension. I'm not saying it has to be that way for everybody, but there, and if it isn't, that's great. Then, it's very much as you just said. We are here to experience this as a human experience. That we are here as humans. That in spite of the background that we've had, well, not in spite of, but in kind of in conjunction with, because
it's an integration.
Yeah, it's an integration. We're actually, we are, astral beings
That's right.
from many times from somewhere else, not necessarily always somewhere else. Some people have been here on Earth many times, as humans or as animals or whatever. And we are in the process, the very beginning process of integrating those previous experiences into our human experiencing, that we're having now. And
Right.
And like I said, we're just beginning to do that. And
Yeah.
so
And what I like about that
yeah.
is the That, and you mentioned that, and I'm just triggered my thoughts. To kind of emphasize the point, it's not about a lot of people who are starting in that and becoming, oh, I'm a star seed, I'm this, and I can't stand being on this earth. And I see that on Facebook and on other social media. Oh, I can't wait to leave here, and when is the ship going to come get me? And that's a rejection of our human experience, and that's a shame, because it's not about that, about leaving, and again, completely again rejecting who you are now, because
Hmm.
that's also the wrong thing, because we are, if you think of it, a lot of the message we get from those higher beings, especially in the higher and higher levels, it's all about love. It's all about love, about understanding and seeing things in the deepest way.
Hmm.
And if we hate that human part of ourselves, we don't love ourselves, we don't love each other. So it's that is another process. Again, what's one thing, we need to focus on those elements of being human and what is love, and I need to love myself really fully. So going through that process as well, as part of my expansion of evolution and consciousness and my galactic being, but I need to also take care with it, along with the way, as part of the process of the human self, of the understanding that it's all love and acceptance, and again, we are a fusion of all of that together.
Yeah, yeah. um, on the topic of letting things go, you had
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that many people are saying, "Oh, I identify as a starseed, or I'm a Pleiadian, or I'm an Arcturian, or a Syrian, or whatever."
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's good that you have that information available to yourself, because there are still many people who don't have that kind of
Right.
information yet. And I gotta say, it's that acquiring that information is a wonderful journey, is a wonderful, wondrous journey. The thing is that, after people, find out, oh yeah, I was an Arcturian, before I came here, or something like that. And then they'll say, well, I'm an Arcturian, or I'm a starseed. Well, this is something, on the topic of letting go, this is something that uh, people kind of, they don't need to deny that that's part of their inner truth, but they
No,
need to let go of the labeling, because
that's
we're
right.
we're coming out, with this DNA activation, or this ascension. We're coming out of a really dense realm where things are very limited, and where people are used to labeling themselves and limiting themselves with these
That's right.
labels.
That's right.
So you have to honor yourself and respect yourself by saying, yes, I do honor and respect that I was Arcturian at this time, or I have an aspect of that is there and it's still within me. It's not denying it. You're just you're allowing it to remain there, but as we said, you're allowing your human experience, in the here and now, to integrate into what you're experiencing right now as a human being on this earth. And
That's right.
we're rising up from this dense realm to this lighter one.
That's right. And
Mhm.
it's utilizing that. So it's like, okay, so I have my Arcturian aspects. How can I help my human self to become better and better and move into that space? So it is utilizing. It is making them useful, not just again as a label or as something that, oh, that's what I am, because I just see it a lot, and it's just again it's a step one, and then what? So that's the next step
Mhm.
of like, okay, how do I use it? How do I help that and utilize the information I received from that space of myself to become a better version of myself, a better and better and better version? Because it's an endless process. It's an endless process of becoming
Yeah.
more and more of who we are. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
excellent.
you've also meant, okay, so we've talked about, letting go of things, letting go of the past, especially, and then just now letting go of the labeling and limiting ourselves. So when somebody does go through this process, you had also mentioned that there's an acclimation to a new way of life, a new way of being. Can you talk some more about that?
Well, that's very personal as far as what everyone, how they apply, again, to what stage they are in their life. But um, it's about again becoming more wholesome and recognizing and honoring every aspect of yourself, and honoring okay, so my physical body, it doesn't like when I eat too much sugar, just as an example. So I need to honor my body and listen to it, and acclimate my old patterns of like, did I like my pastries? I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
and to start like letting go of that or eating less and less of it because it's just not, my body is telling me he doesn't like it. So it's just starting to move. So it moves from everything. So from the way we, as you said, relating to ourselves, the way we honor ourselves, the way we acclimate to life in general. Again, it could be on the professional level, on the way we relate to ourselves in the world, on the way we approach other people. I'll give you another example of this acclimation, because I think you mentioned that, and that's a really good point. Sometimes there's moments in this process that are very smooth and beautiful, and an elation of an experience, like, oh wow, that's beautiful, and some moments that are rough and tumble a little more, and it's all part of that. But again, it doesn't have to be all hard. It doesn't have to be all unpleasant, and and it is also, again, another phenomenon that I like to warn people from is, again, it's retaining your humility in the process. And like, oh wow, yes, I am on other aspects of myself and higher dimensions, and I am part of, like, for example, working a spaceship, and I'm doing all that stuff, and it feels really like, wow, I'm all that. And that's really good and powerful, and it you can utilize it and know that you can use it as an empowerment, and like, okay, I am more than just what I am, and more, and I can explore more, and I need to honor and acknowledge and respect my power and my abilities, and bring it and use it in a healthy way. But what I also sometimes see is it's a spiritual superiority, a sense of like, oh, those people who are not awake, those people who don't know what they're doing yet, and the disrespect, um, and sometimes just treating them as less than.
Yeah.
And again, and the lesson, if you really know, the biggest lessons of, obviously, are of love and acceptance, and cherishing everyone who is whatever place they are on their journey, and and it's important to remember that. So you are just one step ahead, maybe, but it doesn't mean you are putting the other ones down if they're not awake yet, or if they're just budding into their awakening. And it's encouraging them, like, yes, okay, good, keep going, do that, do awaken, do move forward, and allow yourself to adjust. And again, that constant adjustment, constant evolution, and then another opening, and then an adjustment. So it's an ever evolving process.
Mhm.
And it's the constant. I think it's important to listen to oneself, listen to yourself, keep yourself humble, and keep yourself like, okay, what is this about? And being gentle with yourself. And gentleness is another part of what, and a bigger even thing that we can talk about separately. It's about self-love, because self-love is a big part of that, of, again, what we talked about before, the rejection of self, rejection of others, seeing others as less, and loving yourself, as being gentle with yourself, like, oh, I'm going through this process right now, or like, I'm going through some pretty few rough days. Oh, other people are having few rough days, I'll take it easy. I'm not gonna have to push myself. I don't have to be upset with myself. I don't have to. And again, it's also in the process of evolution of self. Is sometimes we have times and periods of times in which we are less connected, and then we were before. And like, oh, I used to meditate. I sometimes encounter that again with my clients. I used to do this kind of stuff. I let go of it again. I went back to it, and now I want to go. And I stopped a little bit. Like, that's okay. That's okay. It's part of our process, and honoring your process, your own journey in the process. So the process of honoring, being gentle with yourself, and just like, okay, let's move forward from this moment on, letting go of the past of being harsh on self, being judgmental on self, because it's all this stuff. Again, it's all those human traits that we also need to let go of. We will not move forward if we still hold on to those things. You will not evolve further if you still hold on to a lot of those aspects of that we know are not the best expression of humanity. So it's again, evolving on all levels, and you won't be able to move forward without shedding away those old beliefs, old patterns, and letting go of those, again, just things that you used to be.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and you always can do that. It's you're always welcome, and see it as an open suggestion to yourself to be curious and like, well, I'm still doing that, huh? I thought I'll let go of it. Okay, let's see what's the next level and how I can let go of that again, and being that gentle with yourself, and being okay with it.
Yeah. 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 And I think that's during this process, that's like an important attitude to take on. because I think with these old dense realm that we're evolving out of, I mean,
Mhm.
we used to really just beat ourselves up, and be very tough on ourselves.
Yeah.
That's absolutely pertinent. I was talking to somebody else about that, or to a group this morning about that, and
Mm.
that you have to just, we're so used to being hard on ourselves. We're taught by our parents to be, they were tough on us, or our teachers were tough on us, or society's been tough. We've been handed a really difficult card to deal with in life, and it's been, overall tough for many people. So so there comes a point to where, what, you have to recognize all of the good things that you've done, the really wonderful, powerful, positive things, the accomplishments you've made, and be proud of yourself, and
That's right.
say, what, I did all that, and because of that, you know I am proud of myself. I do love myself for that. Through my actions, I've defined myself. What a great person I am through the actions and the accomplishments I've made. And
That's right.
so, yeah, this would be a great topic to talk about next time. Would be this self-love, and going further with that. How some people, I think a big challenge for a lot is they've never heard of that concept, self-love.
Mhm.
We've always been taught to love someone else, to give away to someone
That's
else.
right.
But
That's right.
so
Yeah.
anyhow,
We'll do
yeah.
that.
Well, hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Harry. I really appreciate it.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
and yeah, so I'll be providing the website information and other information, below along with the video here. And is there anything else that you wanted to say in closing?
No, thank you very much, and we'll keep on talking. We'll make it a series.
Okay, okay, sounds great, man. All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. So stay tuned, and we'll talk some more. Okay, bye bye.